You've been using your eyes your entire life. But what if I told you that true vision has nothing to do with your eyeballs? There is a hidden sight, an inner vision that's been quietly waiting behind your thoughts, behind your dreams. This ancient ability was banned, hidden from humanity, because those in power feared what you could become once you could truly see. In this video, we reveal the long-forgotten technique to unlock this forbidden gift. But before we begin, stop, take one deep breath, center yourself, sit in stillness. And if you're ready to awaken what was never meant to be forgotten, then comment below, subscribe, and step into the unseen. They told you to trust your eyes, but they never told you what those eyes can't see. Since birth, you've been conditioned to believe that reality equals visibility. If you can't touch it, it isn't real. But what if that's the biggest lie you've ever swallowed? Behind your forehead lies an ancient lens, a third eye once revered by mystics, healers, and seekers of truth. It's not a metaphor, it's not fantasy. It's a sense, a tool, a forgotten instrument that allowed humans to navigate dreams, feel danger before it appeared, and connect with forces beyond physical form. Every night you use it unconsciously in dreams. You see without your eyes, hear without your ears, move without your body. That is inner vision, and you've had it your whole life. So why doesn't anyone talk about it? Because a society that sees cannot be controlled. Have you ever noticed how children talk to invisible friends or stare into empty corners with total peace? They are not broken, they are still tuned in. But soon they're told to ignore it to grow up, to fit in. Their inner vision is shut down, not by nature, but by systematic design. The education system never taught you to look within. It taught you to look outward, to worship facts, figures, and what's proven. But the truth is, your inner world holds more data than any textbook ever printed, and it's time to access it consciously. You were born seeing, but you've been blinded by belief. This ancient eye was never lost. It was covered layer by fear, by ridicule, by silence. Unless you peel those layers back now, you'll stay blind to your true nature. Because once you remember what's within, everything around you will start to look very different. And that's where we go next. What if I told you that you've been living in two realities your entire life, but only been aware of one? That's not poetry. That's not philosophy. That's your daily existence. There is the world you see, and the world that controls what you see. From the moment you wake up, you're not just opening your eyes, you're opening a filter. That filter is built from beliefs, media, education, trauma, repetition, and, above all, permission. You've only been allowed to see what keeps the machine running. Everything else is labeled fiction, madness, imagination. But here's the paradox. The world you think is real is the most artificial because it's been edited, curated. You're not seeing truth, you're seeing programming. And every system you trust, school, science, politics, has been carefully constructed to maintain this illusion. You weren't taught to observe. You were taught to consume. You were told what to think, what's acceptable, what's normal. But in the background, quietly humming beneath the noise, is the other reality. The one your inner vision remembers. The one you glimpse in déjà vu, in intuition, in silence. Why do you think mystics, seers, and ancient masters all spoke in riddles? Because truth can't be spoon-fed. It must be felt, seen with the eye beyond the eye. And if you don't break the spell now, if you don't question this system today, you'll spend your life trapped in someone else's version of the world. So here's your task. Pause this video. Comment below with one moment in your life where you felt the truth but couldn't explain it. Then come back. Because what's coming next will give you the tools to tear the veil down yourself. Seeing the lie is only the beginning. To destroy it, you must learn how to see without permission. You've seen the cracks, you've felt the glitch. But now comes the question that changes everything. How do you awaken what's been locked away for centuries? The answer is not in books. It's in a forgotten trinity. 3 ancient keys buried beneath distraction, noise, and control. The first pillar is conscious silence. Not the silence of turning off your phone, but the silence between thoughts. It is the gap before sleep, the stillness where your true self whispers. Most people fear it because, in that silence, there are no lies left to hide behind. The second is sacred breath. You breathe every day, but that's survival. This is awakening. Breath is the bridge between the seen and the unseen. The ancients didn't meditate to calm down. They breathed in patterns that unlocked states of vision. Each inhale was a signal, each exhale a release of illusion, and the third is directed focus. Your mind is like a wild laser. When scattered, it's harmless, but when focused with intention, it pierces the veil. In today's world, focus is everything. Everything fights for your attention, and that's not an accident, because a focused mind is a dangerous mind. This one, and the inner eye stays closed. Combine all three, and you'll feel it. A subtle shift, a pressure between the brows, a deep knowing that you're reactivating something ancient. But be warned, if you treat this casually, it will remain casual. If you do this with full presence, it becomes revolutionary. If you don't begin this discipline now, you'll stay trapped in someone else's rhythm, someone else's frequency, someone else's illusion. So take a moment, close your eyes, breathe with purpose, and feel your attention sharpen, because what comes next will put these pillars into action and take you straight to the threshold of the invisible. You've been breathing since the day you were born, but no one ever taught you how to breathe like this. What if I told you that breath isn't just oxygen? It's a code, a forgotten rhythm that can alter your perception, open portals, and dissolve the illusion of limits. This is the SECP breath ritual. 7 conscious breaths designed not for relaxation, but for revelation. Each breath isn't just air, it's an initiation. Breath 1 is the awakening. Inhale through the nose, slow and steady. Imagine you're pulling light into your chest. Exhale through the mouth. Release the tension. You've just opened the first gate. Breath 2 and 3 begin to distort time. Your thoughts slow down, and the external world fades. Inhale deeper, exhale slower. Let your eyelids grow heavy, but keep your mind alert. You are entering the threshold. Breath 4 and 5 are where most turn back. This is when inner vision stirs. You might feel pressure at the brow, warmth, or tingling. Some see colors, others feel like they're floating inside their skull. Do not chase the sensation. Simply notice this is your forgotten sight, reactivating. Breath 6 and 7 complete the circuit. You're in between a space where symbols speak and logic falls silent. If you remain here open, calm, and undemanding, you'll begin to see. But here's the mind bomb. You were never meant to learn this. That's why no one ever taught you. But now the gate has cracked open, and you've stepped through. If this moves something inside you, if you felt even the faintest flicker of knowing, like this video, comment on what you experienced, and subscribe to Mystica Nexus. This ritual is just the key. What waits on the other side will transform how you understand consciousness itself. And what you'll find there isn't empty space. It's the blind spot they never wanted you to notice. There is a place in your mind that you enter every day but never notice. A space between waking and sleep, between thought and stillness. It's called the blind spot of consciousness, and it may be the most sacred, most forbidden terrain you've never been taught to explore. You know the feeling right before falling asleep, that moment where time stretches, sounds fade, and thoughts start melting into something other. That's not emptiness, that's access. That is the crack between two worlds, and no one ever told you that it's the doorway to real perception. Modern life is engineered to make you fear that space. Keep scrolling, keep thinking, keep moving. Because if you ever paused long enough to notice that silent whirlpool behind your thoughts, you'd wake up. And the system cannot afford that. Here's the paradox. You can't chase this space directly. The harder you try to see it, the more it disappears. It's like trying to look at your own eyes without a mirror. That's why the blind spot is so powerful. It's not meant to be seen. It's meant to be entered. When you observe your thoughts without grabbing them, when you allow the silence to expand, the edges begin to blur. That's when symbols emerge. Memories, visions, warnings, gifts. The language of the unseen comes alive in that precise, fragile window. But if you rush through it, if you keep seeking stimulation, you'll miss it again and again and again. If you don't train yourself to hold space in the stillness, you stay trapped in the noise. So, here's your task. Drop a comment if you've ever felt this space. Describe the moment. someone else might recognize their own. And if this is the first time you've even heard of it, then subscribe, because what we're about to uncover goes even deeper. Because once you learn to navigate the invisible, you'll realize it was never empty to begin with. It was just never translated. You've been taught that time is linear, that it ticks forward second by second, locked in past, present, future. But that's not how your consciousness experiences it, and your inner vision knows it. Have you ever had a flash of insight where years of confusion just vanished in a single moment? Or dreamt something that felt more real than waking life? That wasn't memory, that was a collapse in time, a fracture in the illusion. And in those fractures, symbols begin to speak. Because before, there were alphabets, there were images, sacred shapes, geometries, vision. This is the original language of your soul. You were born knowing it, but you were trained to forget. When your brain wave state slows, when you enter that twilight between waking and sleep, you slip beneath the surface of logic and into the ocean of archetypes. Time bends, symbols appear, and meaning isn't read. It's felt, vibrated, remembered. Why do you think ancient temples were covered in codes? Why did shamans draw spirals, circles, eyes? Because they weren't decorating walls. They were speaking to the invisible. And when your vision reactivates, you'll begin to see these symbols, not outside, but within. You'll notice patterns where you once saw randomness. You'll hear a phrase and feel it like a bell in your chest. A simple image will haunt you for days, not because it's scary, but because it's trying to tell you something. But here's the mind bomb. What you dismiss as coincidence is often conscious communication. And what feels like just a feeling might be the universe itself, asking if you're finally ready to listen. So if you've seen patterns lately, repeating numbers, synchronicities, symbols, and dreams, drop a comment below. You're not alone. Your consciousness is tuning in. But to decode the message, you must first confront the guardians who stand at the threshold. Every journey of awakening has a gate, and every gate has guardian. But they don't wear armor. They don't carry weapons. They hide inside you, and they speak in your own voice. The first guardian is doubt, not the healthy kind that questions reality, but the voice that whispers, "This isn't real. You're making it up. This isn't skepticism." And the more truth you approach, the louder it screams. Because doubt protects the cage. Then comes fear. Not fear of death, but of dissolution. Fear of letting go of the world you thought was real. The fear that if you keep going, you'll lose your sanity. Or worse, your identity. But here's the paradox. You must lose what you're not to remember what you are. The third is impatience. In a world of instant answers, you'll want results fast. You'll demand visions, signs, proof. And when they don't come right away, you'll say, "It doesn't work." But truth isn't on demand. It arrives in stillness. And if you can't wait, you'll never see. And the most dangerous spiritual ego, that voice that says, "I see more than others. I'm awakened. I'm special." But true awakening dissolves the I. If your inner vision makes you feel above others, it's not vision. It's a new form of blindness. But here's what no one tells you. They're here to test you, to initiate you. And if you face them, not fight but face, they transform. Doubt becomes discernment. Fear becomes respect. Impatience becomes depth. And ego becomes humility. If you've met these guardians, if one of them is standing at your threshold, comment below which one you've faced. Someone else here has faced the same, because just beyond them waits the moment your inner eye opens. And when that happens, nothing will look the same again. There comes a moment when the veil doesn't just thin. It shatters. It may come softly like a whisper behind your thoughts, or it may hit like a storm. Sudden, overwhelming, irreversible. But when it arrives, you'll know. Because for the first time, you're not seeing the world. Colors appear brighter. Sounds more spacious. People speak. But you hear what's beneath their words. Time begins to warp. You sense events before they happen. You remember things no one taught you. That's not hallucination. That's inner vision activating. You realize nothing around you has changed. You've pulled off the blindfold they told you was your face. Suddenly, the symbols you ignored become maps. You don't need to believe. You feel the truth vibrating through every cell. This is the moment mystics spoke of, the moment saints wept over, the reason prophets disappeared into caves for years. But here's the twist. It doesn't feel like winning. It feels like dying, because the version of you that was asleep cannot survive what's coming alive. You may cry without knowing why. You may laugh in the middle of silence. You may feel terrified and yet more alive than ever. That's not breakdown. That's breakthrough. And once you see, you cannot unsee. You may still walk through this world, but you'll never again mistake the illusion for the whole. So if something inside you just clicked, if you feel like you've been standing on the edge of this for years, hit like, drop a comment, and subscribe to Mystic Nexus, because this is the point of no return. And now comes the real question. How do you live in a world you no longer fully believe in? So, you've seen. You felt the shift, the curtain pulled back, the veil torn. Now comes the part they never warned you about. Living with the vision on. Because awakening isn't the finish line, it's the reset. And now, everything looks the same but feels completely different. The people around you haven't changed, but you can't unhear the silence beneath their words. You walk through the same places, but they echo. So, what do you do when you see through the game but still have to play in it? You integrate? You start keeping a navigator's journal. Not a diary of feelings, but a record of signals. That moment you sensed a warning, that image that appeared in meditation, that day when a stranger said exactly what you were thinking. Write it, track it. The more you honor the signals, the more they show up. You learn to move in the world, but not be owned by it. You set boundaries not out of fear, but out of clarity. You spend more time in nature and stillness. You clean the mental static. You become intentional with who you let into your field. And most of all, you stay humble. Because the gift of inner vision isn't to feel superior. It's to become more present, more anchored, and more available to truth. The goal is not to escape this world. It's to walk through it as one who sees. So, if you're beginning to see connections you once ignored, if you're starting to feel the pulse of something greater weaving through your daily life, drop a comment and tell us what shifted. Because this isn't the end. This is where we begin walking with the vision. And in the next breath, we step into the world anew. You weren't meant to stay blind. You were built to see through illusions, to feel the pulse behind the pattern, to awaken the ancient vision within. And now you have. But this is just the first gate. There are more codes to uncover, more symbols to decode, and more dimensions to reclaim. So if this video sparked something in you, like, comment your awakening moment, and subscribe to Mystic Nexus. Because what we share here was never meant for the masses. It's for the ones who remember. This isn't just content, it's a calling. And the next time your breath deepens, the next time silence speaks, you'll know you're not alone.